Welcome to Unplanned Podnancy, episode 10. And before we start the episode, I just wanted to mention our gaming channel that came out this week. It's called Podnancy Plays. It's going to serve as bonus content for the regular podcast. It'll come out on Wednesdays along with the normal episodes. You can go there, check out me and Chris playing a random game, and in addition to that, there will be more footage of whatever game we decide to play on the YouTube video of the normal episode for the week, and that'll be on our regular Unplanned Podnancy YouTube page. If you want to check that out, go to gaming.podnancy.com or just go to unplannedpodnancy.com and click the link at the top of the page. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome to Unplanned Podnancy, the only podcast on the internet that you happen to be listening to right now. Chris, do you know what episode it is?
I think this is episode 62, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. Always wrong. Always wrong.
I can't
Always
be
wrong.
right.
Chris is
If I was right, this wouldn't be Unplanned Podnancy.
Exactly. No, Chris, it's episode 10. We made it to the double digits. How
Are you
about
serious? Is this episode 10?
Yeah, this is episode 10.
Whoa, that blows my
I can
mind.
tell that Chris is actually surprised right now because Chris and I have tried to do so many things together, and we almost always just we just give up eventually. And the fact that that we stuck this through to double digits episodes is actually pretty impressive.
This is not the longest project at this point, but it is probably the one that has had the most fruit for the labor.
Yes. Oh, most definitely.
Yes.
I think this is the only one like anybody else has actually seen a finished product.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, it is cool. But before we get started, unplannedpodnancy.com. If you go to unplannedpodnancy.com, there's a merch store. There's some more information about the podcast, and you'll find our social medias. And since this is episode 10, I thought we'd try something a little bit different than we normally do. So I kind of like it when I listen to podcasts and the people that I'm listening to give a little bit of unrelated introduction and some back and forth before they actually get into the topic. So I figured we'd talk about what we did this week. I honestly, though, didn't do a whole lot this week. I did some work for school. I watched some TV. I mowed the lawn. On Tuesday, I sat in on the Discord recording of Don't Look Under the Internet. That's a podcast. It's a friend of this podcast, and they gave us a shout out over there this week. So super appreciative of that. If you haven't already, go check them out and join their Discord. I'm probably like unhealthily active on their Discord. So if you want to talk to me, that's an option. With that, Chris, I think you had a big life event this week.
Well, I did, but I think it's important that while we're filling people in about our lives, that we know that you are in school, but you are not of a young age.
Oh, yeah,
might
I'm
say.
not like in high school.
You're not in high school. You're not in your early 20s. You're getting your master's
I'm getting my
degree.
master's degree.
Yeah. And what are you getting your master's in, Matt?
Cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity. He's going to be a hacker man. Hacker man, preventing hacker mans.
Sure. Got to hack the hackers. Got to backdoor their backdoor.
Whoa. And hey, man, that sounds like a good time getting people's back doors.
Like a good time.
No lie. And you said you mowed, which people who mow typically have lawns, which means you probably have a home and not an apartment. But who else has a home now? Is me.
What a fucking segue. I did not know where that was going. I was like, is Chris just going to ask me about my lawn?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. No, I didn't want to use your segue, so I wanted to segue it a different way, apparently. Yeah, so you have a home, you have a house that you purchase, and I have also now purchased a house. That was my big thing happening since the last episode. I am now in a new location. Things are in different places. I am now living on my own, which has been wild. So not only am I now living in my own house that I own, I'm 100% by myself. I've lived in apartments with girlfriends, and you live with your parents growing up, and as you get older, you move around, and you probably have roommates and stuff throughout a big chunk of that. And if you're a normal person, you might get married or something, or have a girlfriend that you move in with, and well, that's not the situation I'm in. I have chosen to buy a house on my own, so now I'm just in this place by myself, and I'm just getting to do things without any interruptions, which is just crazy. The space is all mine. There's just no one to tell me, nah, you know what, this is my shit in the fridge, this is your shit in the fridge.
You can just do whatever
I can just do whatever the fuck I want. It's crazy.
And as long as you don't make noise, like, nobody's gonna come bother you.
I mean, you know how much noise I'd have to make to actually bother someone?
Well, yeah, you can make as much noise as you want, as long as it's not enough to disturb someone in the next house over through their walls too.
Yeah, this is a wild experience for me. A wild experience. Yeah, no girlfriend to be like, you can't have that here. That's not. I don't want that in the front room. There's none of that. There's none of that. I just have shit wherever I want, and it's fucking cool as hell.
You can just piss all over the toilet and then just be like, you know what, I'm gonna clean that up later, and walk away.
Clean it up later. And that actually leads me into a mini story. I have 1.5 baths. Off the master bedroom, there's a half bath. Go out into the hall, there's another bathroom with a shower. Oh, well, I moved in. I was like, I can just walk around in the buff if I want. So I went to the half bath, took a piss, walked out of the half bath fully nude into the full bathroom, left the door open, took a shit in the other bathroom, and then got up, took a shower. And I was just like, I can just do this. This is awesome. This is freedom. So totally free.
It's free real estate.
Free real estate,
For
baby.
your dom.
I have been having a great time just being by myself. It's been really cool. But being by yourself also has some downfalls. There's no one fucking around when shit starts to go sideways. And yesterday, had a bit of an issue. So the previous resident left their internet active, and I was using it up until yesterday, when the ISP was supposed to come out and hook up my internet, which was really kind of the previous resident to leave the internet running for 4 days for me. They didn't have to do that, and I really appreciate them doing that. But the ISP cut off their access at 6 a.m. and they weren't coming out to activate mine until 5 p.m. And I work remotely, so I need internet, and I had no internet. So I wake up and I'm freaking out. I'm like, oh, holy shit. They cut off the internet. I can't work. I have no way of contacting my boss. And I have some other stuff going on in life where I need my hours off to address other things. But I texted my sister. I was like, holy fuck, they shut off my internet. And she's like, all right, why the fuck did they do that? And we got into it a little bit, just talking. And she's like, do you see Xfinity or Xfinity Wi-Fi on your Wi-Fi? And I was like, yeah. She was like, here's my credentials, log in, use it. Thank God to my sister, I was able to work on Xfinity Wi-Fi. But while I'm dealing with this, while I'm texting my sister, again, I had just woken up out of bed to work. When I wake up in the morning, I don't do a whole lot. I have already made my coffee the night before. It's in the fridge. I like cold coffee.
Cold?
Yep,
okay.
I like cold coffee.
It's like you just microwave it? Just
no,
drink it room temp?
I like cold coffee with ice.
For some reason, cold coffee, like iced coffee, hadn't occurred to me at all.
We could talk about iced coffee because I love iced coffee. That's the way I prefer it. But I get up, I take a shit, brush my teeth, drink my coffee. I don't get dressed. I don't have to. I live alone. This is a new thing.
That's true.
I just don't get dressed. I work remote. I'm just in the buff. But I had brushed my teeth. I had taken a shit. I had gotten my coffee, but I had no internet. I'm texting my sister, and this house has a security system. And when you open a door, it goes beep beep When you close the door, it goes beep beep.
Any door?
Any door that the security system's on, not the inside doors, but the outside doors.
Okay, I was like, that's annoying.
No, just the doors to the outside.
Okay.
So it's just small little beeps when you open and shut outside doors. Well, I'm texting my sister and I'm in the buff and I hear beep beep beep.
Oh no.
Beep 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 beep.
Oh
beep,
no.
Beep beep. I thought someone was breaking into my house. I thought the security system was going
like 8
off
o'clock in the morning.
at 8 o'clock in the morning. My fucking shoulders tense up. My entire body tenses up. I'm like, so I have my gun, but I don't have any ammo for it. I hadn't gotten the ammo. I have no weapons available to me besides like a fucking curtain rod. And I was just like, I guess I'm going to beat someone down with a curtain rod if I have to, or wrestle them naked. Like I was like, this is where I'm at now. I walk out of my fucking room, and I had hooked a Roomba up the night before, and it was beeping.
No.
Yes.
No.
It was the Roomba turning on for the first time.
Oh my god.
Bro, I tell you, I about shit myself, and that's been the big event in my life.
Nice. Yeah. I don't know what I would have done. Yeah. I probably would have assumed the same thing.
It was terrifying.
I mean, you may just be able to run at them naked. That might be.
Yeah, I guess.
So who's breaking into a house at 8 o'clock in the morning?
Exactly. Who would do that? My brain was like, "You're alone, man. You're alone and in the nude. Someone's coming in. Get ready.
Fuck shit.
Fuck shit. My dong."
So, yeah, since you moved into a house this week,
Yep.
That means that you're familiar with the process of moving. And
intimately, yes.
That brings me to our topic for the week, which is, would you move into the metaverse?
Would I move into the metaverse?
Would you move into the metaverse?
Well, would you move into the metaverse, and would the audience move into the metaverse?
Would the audience move into the metaverse? This has been Unplanned Podnancy. Let us know.
Your participation is required for the next episode. See you in number 11.
No, it's a tale as old as science fiction.
Yeah.
Like virtual worlds, The Matrix. We've probably all seen some sort of movie or TV show about it, but it's been in the news a lot more over the course of the past year or so because of NFTs and VR kind of sprouting its legs and Facebook doing the meta thing. And moving and seeing some of that stuff online just got me thinking, if you were given the opportunity to just have your brain hooked up to a machine where you could live in some virtual reality and it's just as good, like the sensory and everything is indistinguishable from reality.
Ooh.
You don't really perceive it as being in VR. It is as good as, it's like the Matrix basically.
Okay, there's a lot of questions. There's so many questions that go along with this. My first question is, what happened to my body? Do I get to choose? Do I get to choose what happens with my body? Or does it just disappear?
So, I mean, what do you think? Let's build out the situation, I guess. If you think, I think eventually if we grow the technology for this, or develop the technology for this, I guess you don't really grow technology, but who knows? You might be able to grow technology eventually. I think eventually if we develop the technology for this, this is going to be a program that you can enroll in where you can just be like, I want out of my normal life. Here's some way to pay for this. I want you to just hook me up to this. And I think what they would probably do, I would have to assume that they just keep you attached to your body and then they hook into you. And they just keep your body alive with IVs and stuff.
Okay, that's going to cost a lot of money.
It is going to cost.
That's going to cost so much money.
It will initially, but like everything, it'll get cheaper over time. Yeah. And maybe there will be programs for you to be able to pay for this. Like, okay, so obviously maybe if you're just super wealthy, you can just be like, here's $5 million or something, just hook me in and take care of my body for the rest of my life.
Right.
Or maybe there's programs where you can do something like work in the metaverse that would make money, because that's something that we're sort of starting to see now with NFT games and metaverse projects now, which we can debate the ethics of that, and we can debate whether that's actually a good thing or whether it makes for good gameplay experiences. And I'll say right now, by and large, I'm against those kind of projects. I think they're predatory.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they ruin the spirit of video games. And that's probably a whole nother podcast in and of itself.
Yeah.
But let's say maybe there was a way that you could just hook up and you can pay off your debt in the metaverse in some way that's more fun than a normal job.
Okay. I have trouble envisioning what a more fun way is, but let's say that exists. And so pretty much anyone's able to just jack in, like get a plan going. They're going to take care of your body. You're able to get in. Okay, that's cool. So I assume when my body dies, I'm going to have brain death, and they're not going to just like preserve my brain or to like keep it in the metaverse, right?
Yeah, I don't think you're going to live any longer in this situation, because your body and your brain are eventually going to break down by natural processes no matter what you're hooked up to.
Okay.
Unless they can like convert your consciousness into some sort of, but that's a whole nother leap in technology that we could talk about. But
Fair.
Let's assume that your body and your brain live as long as they would have anyhow.
Okay. So body's being taken care of, and I assume it's being well taken care of. It's not just gonna like dwindle and like rot away. It will live its natural life expectancy, because again, that's gonna take other advances in technology.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they can take care of people in comas, right? People who are in comas wake up and like their muscles have atrophied and stuff, but like they can eventually, typically, they can regain function of their body with physical therapy and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
There's a lot of issues that come with just laying in bed. Like you said, muscles atrophy, but there's also like bed sores.
Yeah, somebody's gonna have to like flip you around.
Like,
and
like
shit.
you're gonna have to have like an attendant that is like looking at you every half an hour or some shit.
Yeah, they're gonna have to have staff who work in these big data centers or whatever, like taking care of the bodies. Yeah.
Okay, so assuming my body lives out its natural lifespan and I don't die because of not being properly taken care of, then would I enter the metaverse? If the metaverse is indistinguishable from reality and working is more fun in the metaverse, then I don't see a reason not to, other than reproduction. That is like the limiter for all humans just being like, into the metaverse, everyone into the pool. Reproduction is the big thing there.
You mean like societal, like this is a societal problem, not a you problem.
Right, yeah, no, this is a societal problem. Everyone can't just jump in because someone's got to be making babies.
Right.
That needs to occur to keep the species going.
Well, in this hypothetical situation in my mind, not everyone is.
Sure.
This is an opt-in program.
Sure. On a individual level, I mean, yeah, if the sensations feel exactly the same, if it's just like tingling your nerve endings, just like reality would, then yeah, absolutely. Because I don't plan on having children currently. I mean, maybe that'll change, but as of this moment, I don't plan on having children. So any experience is just for the feeling. I have, you know.
What if the graphics are just like a little bit worse? Just a little bit. Not like ooh. I'm in the not like it's not. It doesn't look like Skyrim. Like it looks almost like reality, except it's just like ever so slightly grainier or something. Which eventually I think you just adjust to it, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know what a slightly worse version of reality looks like. Like that's hard to imagine. Like try to imagine a 1 or 2% degradation on your vision of reality.
Yeah.
It's hard to picture. Because
Yeah, I mean, that's just like your eyes getting worse.
Yeah. I mean, in reality, that has already happened to me.
Yeah.
Through my life,
Right.
my eyesight has gotten worse.
Or just like every once in a while, like the Matrix, there's just a little bit of wonkiness. Like you see the corner of a building and it's just not quite right. Like the textures don't quite line up or something.
I mean, yeah, that would be okay. Just a little bit of misalignment on a texture every now and then. And then it's just like, and it fixes itself. Yeah, no, that'd be cool. That's fine.
Minor glitches. That would be kind of dope.
Yeah, that'd be entertaining
really.
as hell.
It's like, oh, reality's fucking up again. Bill, you'll never guess what I saw on the way to work this morning. There was this dog walking down the street, and all of a sudden, its ass was its face, and then it fixed itself. Funniest thing I've ever seen.
The thing is, it did it mid-poop.
It was just throwing up shits.
Yeah, no, man, that would be... I don't see a downside to it. And if I get to pick the kind of reality I'm going to, that seems like a no-brainer to me.
Yeah.
Because when you're talking about diving into the metaverse and choosing a new reality, there are going to be, when this launches, there are going to be so many people just building universes. Because I would assume if someone is... Because there's going to have to be a money-making situation going on. So if a person is in your universe, you're going to get a certain percent of the funds that are used to keep them alive or whatever. There's going to be some exchange.
Ooh, so this is like, you're imagining a situation where people can create their own reality and other people can come visit it?
Well, I'm thinking like things like Facebook, things like Google. They're going to want people in their universe to make more money.
Okay, what if this is actually a nonprofit thing, and the reason that this is being done is because actually, you know what? No. Before we get into that,
okay,
let's continue along that trail.
Okay.
Let's assume that this is some sort of corporate money-making thing. Like let's assume this is the Facebook version of what this would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
If this was to come into existence and there were multiple companies working on a multiverse or a metaverse and contributing to a thing where people could like jump around and experience different shit, there's going to be companies like video game companies making experiences that you would go into, and that would be dope as fuck. And now we're in like the Sword Art Online kind of stuff where like now you're in a fantasy world and you can do all these sweet fucking moves and like unlock shit and like live a full life. I think that would just be the bombest fucking shit ever. I would take that. I would take that 100%.
Yeah. So you don't have, because a lot of people I think would just have a gut reaction where they'd just be like, no, I want to live in reality. I want to feel what's real and stuff.
If it feels the same.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. And I think I would do it too, because I think that there is just, if everything is the same, you're still living, you're still experiencing things, and there are just more possibilities, basically.
They say that there are infinite possibilities in our universe, and while that may be true, here on Earth, the number of experiences that you can have within a time period are limited. Yes, at some point in human history on Earth, knights and castles and those kind of like medieval fantasy style wars happened to a degree, but that's not happening now. I can't experience that outside of like LARPing, but in the metaverse, like that I could experience.
Yeah. I think from a philosophical standpoint, I agree with you. I don't think that there's really any reason for me to keep myself here and not plug in for the sake of just experiencing reality over experiencing some false reality. And I think the same argument can be made and has been, like, this has been discussed a lot with people who just spend all their time playing video games online. Mm-hmm. And people look down on those people because they think that they're not really experiencing life, or they're not out there in reality doing things. And I think, honestly, the reality of that situation is if that person's getting fulfillment from that, then there's nothing less real about what they're doing.
No,
to be honest.
And let's be completely honest. There is, if you are sitting on your couch watching a football game or watching like Top Chef, and like that's what you do at night, like after work, and you're throwing judgment at someone who's playing video games after work, realistically, they're probably experiencing more than you.
Oh, 100%. I'm glad that I spent most of my teenage years and like my tween years and stuff playing World of Warcraft and things like that, and meeting people online and talking to people and having experiences with friends online, and not just coming home and watching movies or like reading books or something, which there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But I absolutely think that you can have memorable and meaningful experiences in a virtual space. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, honestly. I think if you think that your life is going to be better by plugging in and you don't have any interest in sticking around in the meat space, then fucking go for it.
Yeah.
And I think I probably would too. Now, here are the two places where I think that gets a little fuzzy.
Okay.
And the first one is the advancement of society. So,
all right,
everyone can't plug in
correct
to the metaverse and just stay there, because something has to stay behind and take care of everything.
Yes.
And the other thing about that is, if most people are plugging in, at some point it depends on how you feel about the advancement of humanity and what that means to you. Because if most people are just plugged into this machine and they're not really progressing towards anything, then humanity has really just kind of reached its peak at this point, right? This is the humanity singularity. Because unless this machine is improving, or there are people finding ways to improve this machine, and realistically, I don't think that's going to be the case. Because if it's gotten good enough that most people find this reality acceptable over their normal lives, there's not much improvement that can be made. So my question then becomes, is it amoral for everybody to plug into this machine and just accept the singularity of humanity? Or would the moral thing to do be stay unplugged and try to figure out where humanity should go in the physical space, whether that be to other galaxies, to explore the other things in the universe that we hadn't gotten to yet?
I think what you would find is that mainly governments would not allow everyone to be plugged in. I think you would find that there are going to be people who are allowed to and people who aren't allowed to. For instance, let's take someone who is a developer, someone who develops code for a company. If their job, and now we're going to have to rework things a little bit, where you're now participating in the real world from the metaverse. If your job is to code for an application, there's no reason you couldn't do that from the metaverse. You're living in your cottage on Mars, and you're coding for a company. You're still online. Yeah. You can send it to people. If you work remotely, you could do your job from the metaverse.
It's working from home, but working from the metaverse.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's the same thing. But if you're the kind of worker who is required to be on a location, say you're a plumber, say you're a mechanic, something like that.
Yeah, the people who are physically building the spaceships.
You're not going to be able to do that in the metaverse. And I think if we reach this point, governments or some part of society, I don't know exactly who, there's going to be some regulations coming down being like, look, if the way you contribute to society is already virtual, you can be in the metaverse. That's fine.
Yeah.
If the way that you contribute to society is physical, then you can go to the metaverse, but you can't live there. You can plug in, experience it like a video game.
You can get a metaverse visa.
Yeah. Yeah. You can go home at night after your job. You can plug in, you can jerk off to some like 700 titted spider on Mercury if you want. That's your deal. But you got to wake up in the morning and go to work.
But maybe those people's experiences isn't quite as vivid. Because I think my initial premise for this was that once you plug in, you can't unplug.
Okay. So
Like-
it would be more like a VR type thing.
So yeah, so you're saying the people who are just visiting would have like a VR, more of a VR experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, people are plugging in. If it's like a Matrix thing where they're like jacking into your brain, realistically, that's a lot harder to remove than the Matrix probably makes it look.
Yeah.
So if
Yeah, if they're like implanting shit into your cerebral cortex,
yeah,
yeah, like ripping that out without doing some damage is probably gonna be.
probably pretty tough. So if you're the kind of person that has to do physical labor, maybe they have helmets that like have like nodules that can go all over your head, and it can give you some kind of experience, some kind of physical
Right.
sensation, but it's not like reality. It's
Right.
a different kind of sensation that you can feel, but it's not as vivid. It's not the same. It is a simulacrum of the experience that you can
Right.
enjoy like a video game. I think that would make sense. But yeah, when you're thinking about this, at least 50% of the population could not be in there, right? At least 50%, because the other 50% are going to have to take care of them, because each person's going to require a lot of care. Maybe not a one-to-one type deal.
I don't think it's gonna be 1-to-1. I don't think it'll be anywhere near 1-to-1. Honestly,
I don't know, man.
I think
It's not going to be 1-to-1, but I think it's going to be like 1-to-3, 1-to-5.
I think in this situation where it's almost where this scenario is open to almost anyone, I think it's going to be extremely efficient.
Okay.
And you're really not going to have that many people just taking care of people. Like we said, obviously there's going to have to be some people, but I'm envisioning a situation where there's like one person for every 1,000 people, because there's going to be automated like sensors and alerts and stuff that one person can look at a screen and be like, oh shit, body number 3,528 is experiencing some sort of issue. Need to go check that one out.
Okay, so if medical technology advanced at the same rate for us to go into this metaverse, then yeah, the numbers could be a lot lower, because currently with like nurses and stuff taking care of people in hospitals, they can only take care of so many people, because they have to wash their bodies, they have to flip them over, they have to like inject them with medicines, do all the feeding and stuff. Like, it's a lot of work to take care of a human body that can't move. So if technology advances and we've got like machines flipping people like pancakes and like dunking them in baths and shit like that, then the numbers could be a lot lower, I suppose. I guess that makes sense. Then the big restriction is going to be labor and reproduction.
I mean, I think the question that I asked, like, is it amoral to for most people to jump into the metaverse? I think the answer to that is really that it just doesn't matter, because honestly, most people, and this isn't to, I mean, I'm one of these people. If most people just stopped doing their job and didn't have a reason to do their job anymore, it wouldn't change big advancements in technology or continuation of the human race. And I mean, there's a very small subsection of the human race that is actively participating in development and research that is taking humanity to the next steps in history.
Okay.
And that hasn't always been true, obviously. Like, manual laborers and stuff are still and have always been important. And they were more important back when manual labor got shit done, like large-scale wars and stuff like that. But now we're at a place in society where advancement largely comes from building rocket ships, theoretical physics, stuff like that. And honestly, 90% of the population isn't doing that. 90% of the population is either working a day job at a retailer, which is selling clothes or food or house supplies or stuff to other people who are working 9-to-5 jobs at some other place that mainly exists to serve people who are also doing those types of things. And in the end, really, if you just took 90% of those people and hooked them up to a metaverse, their jobs, it wouldn't matter. I just don't think it would matter, because the disappearance of one gigantic group of people will negate the need for another gigantic group of people, and so on, until you're really just kind of left with a small subsection of humanity that's actually taking people to Mars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So yes, I agree with you. There are a small number of people that are actually doing the research that advances humanity. There is a larger amount of people, though, that are required to execute those changes. There are a larger number of people still that are needed for those people to do their jobs. So, for example, if someone invents a new technology, the buttfucker 97 that can turn people's buttholes into like golden rings.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a butthole, converts it into golden rings. Cool. New technology. How's it work? Don't know. Don't care. It exists. Someone invented it. Now someone has to build it. Okay. Now you need engineers. You need the kind of people that can actually like physically execute that build. Now you need manufacturers that can actually build those parts, because that's going to take laser precision shit to be built. You're going to need miners to mine that ore for those parts. You're going to need production lines to move that stuff. Are all the people needed? No.
Most people's jobs exist because people exist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like jobs that largely benefit society, like people who work in restaurants and things, those jobs really only exist, or only exist on the scale that they exist because society exists.
Yes.
And if you scaled down society by 90%, there would suddenly be a dramatically reduced need for those jobs.
I guess my point is, I think there are a larger amount of people that are needed for advancements in technology than just a couple hundred people in the world, because like I said, that ore has to be gathered, those parts have to be made, they have to be shipped. Like, those people, while not directly contributing, are required for those advancements to actually get done.
I guess, but like you don't need massive production lines if you're not making 1 million CPUs for iPhones.
But you still have to have a way to produce a processor if you need a processor for the advancement of a piece of technology.
Yeah, but you probably don't need thousands of people to run that production line.
No.
You do if you're making millions of chips, but
right.
If you're only making one for every, if you're only making 5 space shuttles this year, then you don't need a gigantic factory.
Yeah, you're right. There's still all the same parts are still required, though. All those same jobs to get the ores and all that shit, all those positions are still required. It's just, like you said, it's less of it. So
yeah, but there's like 6-7 billion people on Earth. I think even if you just take 10% of those people, you've still got enough people to do all those jobs. I'd bet on it.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah. Okay. I can see that. Yeah. There are a lot of fucking people. And if you're only building a minimum number of things, then yeah.
The one thing that I would see needing a lot of people for those types of jobs is like you're gonna need replacement parts for the machine that's running this gigantic metaverse thing.
Yeah.
So there's gonna have to be a fairly large workforce behind that, but I still don't think it's gonna be in the order of millions of people.
Yeah. A lot of things can get trimmed down, but a lot of the jobs that exist that are not service level jobs are still going to need to exist in a scaled down version.
Yeah.
Miners will still have to exist. You can't get around that. You need ore.
Right.
Welders, there's still going to have to be welders. There's still going to have to be these kinds of people because their jobs
and there's still going to have to be cooks, and there's still going to have to be cleaners, and there's still going to have to be basically every job that exists right now is still going to have to exist in some capacity, but
in a far trimmed down version.
Yeah, if you've got 10% of the people to serve, you may only need 10% of the people to do it.
So basically what we're saying is that the majority of the population could just go fuck off and humanity could still advance as long as the right people were still in place.
I think I was trying to find a less crude way to say that, but I think that I'm in that
Oh
I'm
yeah,
not putting people down. I'm in that
I
90% of
oh
people
I
who could just disappear.
yeah.
And like, yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
no one needs me around to do my job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like if I pop out and I can't support some software anymore, you know who can? The people who made the software. I'm not integral.
Yeah, yeah, I'm not either. So yeah, don't see this as me putting down any sort of like
No.
anybody in any sort of position because yeah, I'm right there with you.
People would care more, and people have cared more when there are a shortage of fast food workers
Oh,
than if I wasn't doing my job.
oh, the dude who is like literally the only person who works the Taco Bell drive-through
Oh
that I go
man.
to like on multiple mornings in a week, I will go to the same Taco Bell and get breakfast, and there's always this one same guy who's like the only guy working the drive-through in the mornings, and if that guy disappeared, I guarantee more people would be upset than if I just suddenly disappeared
Yeah,
from
man.
my job.
Like 100%. 100%. Yeah, the Little Caesars over here has one person that works at it. Just one guy who does everything in that Little Caesars. If he was just to disappear, there's no more $5 just like hot and ready
Yeah.
pizzas in this area anymore. Just
And there wouldn't be for a while because you can't just take anyone and just be like, make these pizzas. They'd just be like, huh?
oh, someone's got to train me. Like, yeah, that's not. Yeah, no. Fast food workers are for the way that society functions right now. You guys are integral.
So let's go back to reproduction for a minute.
Okay.
Because you said that the first problem that came to your mind with society moving into the metaverse would be reproduction. Now, is this actually an issue, or do you think that either A, we would figure out a way to facilitate reproduction, as in like these two people hooked up in the metaverse, they've accepted the mating agreement in the metaverse or whatever, and we're going to take this and stick it with this, and we're going to make another human and pop it out in some sort of like, I don't know, incubation machine or something. Or the other alternative is, would the people running this machine just decide that all these people who are hooked up to it aren't really that important and just let them start dying off?
Oh my God. Okay. So, situation number one, two people hook up in the metaverse, and now you have the situation where you can either go get sperm from the man and the egg from the woman if the two people who hooked up are of male and female gender, and then combine it, make a baby, and now what do you do with that baby?
Now what do you do with
What do you do with the baby?
That's true.
Who's taking
Can you
care
hook the
of
baby
it?
up to the metaverse? It has to develop
Well,
somehow.
So now you have a baby. Do you just jack it into
Shit.
the metaverse? Does it get a choice in any of this situation? What? Ooh, now you have this
I think
big dilemma.
Okay, I think I know how this would probably work. They're going to take these babies.
Uh-huh.
They're going to hook them into the metaverse, obviously, immediately, because they're not just going to have people in the metaverse creating kids and then just dump them on some sort of mother outside or whatever and just have them take care of it, because that doesn't seem like it makes any sense. Why would you want to have your metaverse baby if it's not going to be in the metaverse with you?
Right.
So they're going to have to hook it back up to the metaverse. Now, here's where I think that's going to go, though. They're going to keep the baby hooked up to the metaverse. They're going to feed it all the things it needs to develop and stuff. And they're going to stick all these metaverse kids into like a school-like training program where they suss out the most intelligent and capable metaverse children. And if they're like especially gifted, they might like be like, hey, want to come to reality and help us fly to the distant reaches of the universe?
Okay, but we've talked about how once you're in the metaverse, you can't come out. So how are they doing this? Are they using that equipment that they use for people to visit? And like they're
so that's a good question. Yeah, I mean you could do that. You could have the visiting system hooked up to them.
Man,
you could have what?
This brings in so many like questions. Like if you have a child and you're like, okay, so you're gonna stay hooked up to this machine 16 hours a day, experiencing this world, but not really feeling what the world is like. The other 8 hours you're sleeping, And like now you're having them grow up in a life that has just like dull experience. Like it's just not as vibrant as the real world
Right.
or the metaverse.
The real world or the metaverse is going to be extremely shocking to them when they eventually actually get hooked up to it.
You would be fucking these kids. Man, I don't know. That's so hard. I feel like you either put them in and they stay, or they don't come in. Like when they're born, I feel like a metaverse family has a meta baby. You don't.
Oh, like it doesn't even exist?
Oh no, that's not what I was getting at. I was getting at it's a real person, but like it gets immediately.
But how would they even know?
Oh shit.
Wow, so that brings up a whole other moral conundrum.
But you gotta keep the number of people in civilization to a certain size, right? Because you're gonna want people reproducing. Why?
That brings up the second question. Why?
That's a good point. If they can't come out, then why are they needed? This is just this,
which brings up a very dark scenario.
Oh, no. Yeah, it does.
A very dark scenario where that maybe to save resources, they just start killing people off and replacing them with NPC versions of themselves, and nobody that's in the metaverse knows.
You would have no idea.
You'd have no idea.
This now could be a way for the governments to kill off overpopulation.
Yeah. So that's a moral conundrum, and that was actually back when I said there were two questions that I had, and the first one was like the moral responsibility that people have for like helping society and stuff. The second thing was the people that run the metaverse now just have basically unlimited control over these people and what they perceive.
Oh God.
So
yeah,
that's an issue.
No. Oh, Matt, there's so much to go into here. There's so much, man. Oh, we haven't. There's just shit we still haven't touched on from like earlier.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Fuck. Now I'm scared to agree to this and jump into the metaverse. Now I'm like, I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah, like 45 minutes into this episode, we've maybe just completely changed our minds. I'm not convinced that I don't want to do this.
No,
yet.
It still sounds awesome if it was utopic and like people did what they said, which maybe in the beginning it would be. I would totally do it, but let's be honest. 100 years down the road, some shit might be getting to the point where it's like, why are we keeping these people alive?
Oh yeah.
Why are we doing this?
Oh yeah.
Why are we wasting these resources?
But the thing is, if I'm in there and the people I'm interacting with, if they're killing them on the outside and replacing them with NPCs, if I don't know, does it really matter?
Not to you. But now we're getting...
From a moral perspective, it's probably wrong. It's probably
from
wrong.
a moral perspective, I would say it's definitely wrong.
Yeah.
But this, to me, gets into other topics that you have to start taking into consideration when you're just ending people's lives out of nowhere.
I think that the ending people's lives to save resources thing that's a whole discussion in and of itself.
Sure.
And we can talk about that. Maybe we can talk about that a different time. But I think another problem that this whole issue brings up is like the morality, or does it bring up concerns to you that now whatever entity is controlling this machine is just controlling people's perception of everything? They're now just in charge of the reality that people are experiencing.
Well,
and does that stop you from wanting to sign up?
So the thing is, if there's one entity controlling it, that immediately becomes an issue. If there's multiple entities contributing to it, that becomes less of an issue, right? So if you are in this metaverse and you've got Facebook, Google, and then like you've got game companies like Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo, and they're all contributing to this metaverse thing, and you can hop around, it becomes a lot harder for one entity to control it. But if there's a single entity that controls that hardware and that implants like process, they're going to have the ability to override all of that and be like, boom, you're now here. You're now experiencing this. And so
yeah,
and down that path, they could set this whole thing up to be like, now we control all of these people's perception, and what does that look like when a company suddenly takes things over or buys out all these other companies, and now they control these people's perceptions? But
Well,
does it actually matter?
I mean, I guess not. I have an issue with where I think this could go, and I think the problem that you just described is basically the divide in politics that we experience every day, which is on one side you have a free market and capitalism and stuff where companies are individually in charge of different aspects of this thing, and their competition with one another keeps a single entity from being able to make all of the decisions, which means that people get more freedom and they have the ability to choose. Now, in real life, we've seen that that doesn't always work out. That typically what ends up happening is that one player dominates a space because they win out and they do it better than everybody else, and then they get so powerful that basically nobody else can compete with them.
Right.
And then what starts happening at that point is the quality of the product starts degrading because now they've become so powerful that it doesn't really matter what they do anymore.
Yeah.
So you end up in the first situation you end up in the situation where one entity is controlling everything. It just takes longer to get there.
Right.
Now, there's something to be said. I think there's still something to be said for the idea of different players competing in the space and not having one entity controlling everything. But what makes you more uncomfortable? Does the idea of these corporations controlling your reality for profit and competing with each other, and the potential for one of those players to gain control over the others and then ultimately end up dominating your reality in search of profit, does that make you more uncomfortable? Or does just starting out from the get-go with one entity that's already in control of the situation, that has made some base agreement to not make every day a living hell in search of profits? Like, what makes you more uncomfortable? Because this whole situation could arise in two different ways, right? This could be a platform that is set up for companies or developers or whatever to make money. Or it could be like a nonprofit program that's actually set up by a government or something in an effort to reduce the resources that society as a whole is using. Because if people are more efficient plugged into this thing than they are living their everyday lives, that could be incentive enough for a government entity or something to just set this thing up and make it good enough to convince people to hook themselves up to it.
Man, okay. Whoa, a lot to unload there. If this was a government-ran program, I would almost definitely not want to sign up. Government-ran programs usually don't go amazingly well. Just historically, when a government decides to do something with a lot of people, not usually a good thing. That's just history.
It's usually corrupt in some way anyway.
Yeah, that's just history being history. Most governments are pretty corrupt in general. Let's just get that out front. And, most governments have a lot of corruption in them. Doesn't matter which government we're talking about. Most of them have a lot of corruption in them. They're out for profit, just like any company, which leads me back to the first point, which is if it's a single company, again, nope, don't want to do it. That's a real scary situation. Your best bet is for things to work exactly how they do now, where companies compete to use you for money. That's reality now. That's the best way it would work in the metaverse for your safety.
But things happen in reality as we know it now so often that one company just ends up in control of everything anyway. Look at Facebook, or look at Disney, Microsoft. 90% of the population uses Windows on their computers. Look at there's a million different examples, and the thing is, the only reason that those companies aren't in total control of everything, because the government's useless at fighting it.
Yeah.
They say that they're supposed to break up monopolies and shit, and they're fucking useless at doing it, especially in the tech space, because government is so colossally and perpetually behind technology that they're fucking useless at it.
Oh, absolutely.
So they wouldn't do anything about it. So the only reason that Microsoft doesn't have just complete and total control over computers in general is because there are enough people who want to see an alternative that they take it upon themselves to make an alternative available through Linux or something like that. But in this scenario that we're proposing, that may not even be an option because this player is in control of your life and ability to do anything.
Huh. Shit, yeah.
Shit, fuck.
Oh, shit, my weed. Oh, God, man. Oh. I think I would feel most comfortable if this was to start tomorrow with multiple companies involved.
Yeah.
If it reaches that point where it all becomes monopolistic, hopefully I'm dead by that point. That's
So you're just hoping that it stays good enough for the next 50 years, and
right. The initial question was, would I go in?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's where I think we should end it, is like with all the things and the issues we've discussed. If this happened tomorrow somehow, would you sign up?
If I would sign up if multiple companies were contributing and it wasn't just controlled by a government.
So your answer is yes. Would I move into the metaverse tomorrow? Yeah, if Zuckerberg was selling me his version of the metaverse and it was no, absolutely not. I'd tell him to go fuck himself. If a government was putting on the program, I think so. Probably. If it was like a Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony competition, I don't know. I'd just have to visit for a while with a little visa and just feel it out. I don't know that I'm willing to jump into that.
Really? So your most likely jump in would be with a government?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think so.
Interesting.
I think because the thing is, if there's not really any financial incentive for them to do it, which, I mean, I'm sure there is somewhere along the way, but there's not as much of a financial incentive as there is for a corporation. The thing with a government program is that they have to make it good enough that you want to be there to begin with. So it at least has to start out real good.
I mean, how are you going to experience it to know if it's good or not until you're there?
Well, if you can visit, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, but yeah, the visiting
I don't
doesn't
know.
give.
It's
full
really
experience.
difficult to say whether I would just flip this switch or not. Because at the beginning, in the utopian, like, perfect scenario that we initially described, I'd be there in a heartbeat.
Yes.
But now that we've thought through all these, like, philosophical issues and the downfalls of this potential scenario,
Yeah.
I'm real uncomfortable with the idea of somebody else controlling my reality and what I perceive on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it sounds terrifying, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And the other thing is, technology almost never works consistently.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
a whole
So I
different
think
thing,
I
though.
started. Yeah, I think I started out on Team Yes, and I ended up on Team No.
Yeah,
I think I'm just on Team No.
Man, I think it would be really cool, but there are so many pitfalls. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's hard for me because I would want to do it for the experiences. Riding on a dragon's back would be cool as fuck, but if I could potentially end up being like butt fucked by a pineapple Satan for 50 years, that's really scary. That's a really scary thing to just potentially live through. And yeah, oof.
Yeah. Or you could wake up every morning and sections of your reality could be blocked behind paywalls.
Oh my God. Oh, for fuck's sake. You're right.
Like in the real world, even if you're homeless and have no money or anything, somebody's going to stop you from doing something at some point, but by and large, you can still just generally walk around and, like, exist.
Yeah.
And in this reality, you may not even be able to do that.
That would suck. That would absolutely suck. That would be terrible. Yeah, man. money's a bitch. Money's a bitch. Money's evil, and it ruins everything. So I guess, man, yeah, no. If we're not living in a utopian society, this would be a hard thing to agree to. And now I'm on team.
Yeah,
no.
I think.
Fuck.
Yeah, I think the only situation where this works is where it's put on by a government program or something, and nobody has to have any money to participate, and there's some ulterior reason why they're doing it.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, you have to put your faith in the government program to be run correctly, or to not just be corrupt in some way anyway.
Yeah,
and not just be finding some way to use everybody hooked into it as slave labor or something.
Yeah, or not just like bringing people into this and like put them in giant like internment camps and then like taking their livers out for some reason or some shit.
Yeah.
Which gets into a whole other thing, but.
Yup.
Oh, shit. Well,
shit,
fuck my weed. I think at this point, if you're listening to this episode of Unplanned Podnancy, you should reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram and let us know what you think. Would you jump into the metaverse? Under what circumstances would you jump into the metaverse? And have we changed your mind on whether or not you'd like to jump into the metaverse?
Yeah, tell us that. Tell us if you can think of some way to fix the issues that we've proposed in this episode. Let us know. And also, just let us know how we're doing in general. If you've listened to this episode or if you've listened to multiple episodes, let us know what you did like, what you didn't like. You can DM us on any of our socials or whatever. And yeah, just give us some feedback.
Yeah, that would be appreciated. And thank you for listening.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.